So I grew up going to seminars teaching people how to de-stress using something called the Silva sound and their meditation practice. So when I went to school for electronics, and I'm always somebody who likes to invent things and create. So I thought, wow, if we can do it with sound, I wonder if we can do it with light. So I was with a group of 6 people, we invented the very first portable light and sound machine to help people to get out of stress and really to get out of pain. That's how we started, but it's evolved since then, since 1986.
Huh. Okay. So I've heard of the Silva Method. Can you just, I know that's not what you're doing, but what does the Silva Method do and how did it work? Just for a brief sketch of it.
Yeah, the Silva Method would help people. They call it going to level. So back then we didn't have neurofeedback. So a lot of people say, did you go to school for neurophysiology or neuropsychology? And I said, there was no neural anything back then. We had biofeedback. So what we would use is we would use a GSR machine called galvanic skin response system, and you can measure brainwave activity through the resistance you have for blood flow in your finger. And so with this technique, you could teach people to go to what they called it level, because alpha is 10 hertz frequency. So think in terms, if you and I were sitting near the ocean, we'd start to relax naturally. We do that because every cell of your body has something called mirror neurons, and those mirror neurons are always listening to the environment. And back in 2003, when they said, hey, we mapped the human genome, they really didn't. They mapped 1% of the human genome, and they said 99% was junk. Well, in 2018, they finally have technology that can measure what's happening to that 99%. We now call that epigenetics. So every 40 seconds, every cell of your body is actually monitoring your environment internally and externally. What you say to yourself, what's going on around you, what you eat, everything plays into it. If you have a propensity to be a negative person or a positive person, these all play into how your genetics show up. So when they present this sound, which is we would now call an isochronic tone, which means it's a mono sound. It can be played in the room, and everybody listening to that sound would sync to that frequency. So it's like going to the symphony, and you look around, and people paid $200 to listen to the symphony, and half of them are sleeping. That's because that symphony is playing at 10 hertz frequency, and they don't know how to regulate their brain at alpha, so their brain thinks they're supposed to be going to sleep. What you do at Silva is you'd learn to have what we call an awakened mind, and once you have that awakened mind, you can accomplish your goals fast. So for me, I used it for sports. I became a 3-sport captain and an honor roll student. And I was a failing second grader. I got held back in second grade and was told I wasn't very smart. Couldn't learn much. But
can I tell you a quick symphony story, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure.
I went to school at Case Western in Cleveland, and for the students, they had a raffle every week. You win free tickets to the Cleveland Symphony Orchestra. So I always would put in for it, and then I would usually take girls on a date there. But every time we went, the night before, I didn't sleep well for some reason, and I could not stay awake. So you're right. It would knock me out. Sometimes my date would fall asleep. Anyway, it just brought back up.
Yeah, especially if you're like a student or you have high stress, because you're in something called the sympathetic state. And most people have what we call neurological lock, and every cell has to respirate. So think of a cell like a lung. It's always breathing, but what it's breathing is light. Every cell is absorbing light energy into the mitochondria and then respirating that light out as codes to the body, telling the body what to do. And our body interacts with the sun. That's what we call the circadian rhythm. That's why every day at 2 o'clock, your temperature drops 2 degrees. Most people don't know that. They think they need coffee, tea, or chocolate. No, your body says, I need to recharge, but we don't recharge with food. We recharge with oxygen and light energy. And so with Silva, they would teach you to do this breathing technique, relax. Of course, your eyes are closed. One of the listeners can practice. There's a really simple technique. When you sit in a chair with your feet flat on the floor, shoulders rolled back, roll your eyes up as if you're in the middle of a clock, but you roll your eyes up as if you're looking at 10 o'clock. That 10 o'clock actually triggers your physiology to go into an alpha state, because it's something we do every night when we go to sleep. We don't realize we roll our eyes back, but it's a trigger, and that trigger becomes, we would call an anchor or a trigger. And if you can maintain that state, your body will start to resonate. You'll have a vibration. Your body might feel light or heavy or tingling. And we would do it over a weekend. So imagine 40 people in a room and they're all doing this with this music playing in the background. People could get into some pretty deep states, but they wouldn't fall asleep. If they fell asleep, that was fine, because at first maybe they needed to get rid of some of that stress, but we want them to stay awake while they're in a sleeping state. So I always tell people, your mind's awake, but your body's asleep. That's the Silva method.